and you should see something. That's what you'll hear on your screen. So, okay, then, thank you everybody for coming and thanks for attending. For those who don't know me yet, my name is Drew Dalton and I am the chair and founder of Report Out. Welcome to our Q&A event with Charlie Beale from the Gilbert Baker Foundation, and a recording of this can be found on our YouTube channel afterwards. So first of all, a little bit about us. We are a global human rights organization for sexual and gender minorities, and we're based in the United Kingdom. What we do is we research, we monitor, and we record human rights abuses against sexual and gender identity minorities around the world. And so far, we've worked in Uganda, we're currently working in Morocco and Ethiopia, and we're about to start 2 projects in Mongolia and Belize. We then use this information that we gather to educate people, and we campaign about the human rights of people in every single nation state. We are entirely volunteer led. We've got absolutely no paid staff, and we are supported with a team of over 50 volunteers who help to make what we do happen. If you want to see any further details, please do go to our website at www.reportout.org. Previously, we've run several events, which you can see on our YouTube channel, which I'll stick into the chat now so you can all view it. On our YouTube channel, you can see panel events from nation states such as Mongolia, Ghana, Russia, and the Cayman Islands, or even wider regional panel discussions such as South Asia, in this case, India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. And we also have done historical talks such as the Men in the Pink Triangle under Nazi Germany. Please have a look at our YouTube site. It's starting to slowly grow in popularity as we just launched it a few months ago. And it's nice that we're starting to build up a whole bank of our events. If you'd like to find out about our events sooner than other people, please do sign up to our email list if you haven't already. The people on our email list are the people who find out about our events before anybody else does. We send out our newsletter, which goes out once a month and tells you what we're up to other than just the events that we do. So, for example, free training opportunities to get involved in the work that we do. The link will be can not only be found on our website, but our lovely volunteer Amalia, who is behind the scenes today, will drop this in the chat box throughout this talk. That will go alongside a donation link with different intervals, because we are, like I say, volunteer led, and small charities can always do with the support, and your donation will obviously, especially as being a small charity with no staff, will go directly to the work that we do. So thank you very much for listening to my little spiel at the beginning, and I would now absolutely love to hand you over to the amazing Charlie Beale. Charlie, can I call you Charlie, or do you prefer Charles?
Absolutely. Charlie is what I prefer.
Brilliant. Okay. There's a massive opportunity here before we get started for people to put questions into the chat box, and we'll address them at the end. So feel free to do so. So Charlie, I'm going to start off with a big wide-ranging question, if that's okay. It's a little bit of tell me about you and tell me about the Gilbert Baker Foundation, please.
Okay. Well, my name is Charlie Beale. I'm president of the Gilbert Baker Foundation. Gilbert Baker created the LGBTQ rainbow flag in San Francisco in 1978 with the help of over 30 volunteers. He worked tirelessly his whole life to promote this symbol as a beacon of hope to people around the world who are brave enough to take that first step out of the darkness of the closet into the into the light of a free life. And thanks. Sorry, this is my husband, Vince.
Hi.
Howdy.
Hi, Vince.
Going around the world, Vince.
Very cool.
Okay, sorry, thanks. He's very sweet. He always brings me stuff during my meetings. Anyway, so I met Gilbert first in 1993 when he came to New York City to do the mile-long rainbow flag for Stonewall 25. I was just impressed immediately with just his sketches and his vision and his passion. And I helped him work on that project, and we became very, very close friends. I went to places with him like Rome and San Francisco, LA, really all across the country, many places. And I went with him to the White House to present a flag to then President Barack Obama, as a matter of fact. So I like to say that when Gilbert was making one of his many famous political banners, he made political banners as well as flags, and in the United States, in certain places, he's as well known for that as for his flag. I was usually the guy in the end of the banner holding the other end. So whenever he needed something, he called me, and I just said yes. I loved him. I loved his passion, his politics, his his real dedication to just freedom and freedom for people that are oppressed. So that's how I got to know Gilbert. The foundation came about because sadly Gilbert passed away in his sleep, totally unexpected, in March of 2017. And at first, I get a phone call, and some friends and I are, racing to his apartment, just, trying to do things like deal with his roommates and trying to get his $900 electricity bill paid. So people who knew Gilbert Baker knew he lived always on very little money. He was the quintessential starving artist who got up every day and made art and went every night to a political meeting. I mean, that's really how he was. So we were trying to just keep things, trying to deal with, that he had passed and what were we going to do. I contacted the GLBT Museum in San Francisco. They sent an archivist, thank God, to come out and collect some of his art and his artifacts and his flags. His family came, they helped out. And in the end, we decided he needed a memorial. And so we produced a big memorial with almost 1,000 people in front of the Stonewall Inn in New York, with a big stage and performers and all that kind of thing. And then we marched down to the waterfront and raised a rainbow flag on a big 30-foot flagpole, to honor him. And while at that memorial, a mutual friend, Cleve Jones, who's a well-known activist, he came, and he said, he came and he brought his book agent, because Cleve had just published a book, and he said, we hear there's a book. And I'm like, a book? Well, to make a long story short, the family had given me Gilbert's hard drive and computer to, help deal with, whatever needed to be dealt with and follow up after he passed away. And sure enough, there's this unpublished memoir. So, suddenly we're producing a memoir. Jay Blotcher, who is really my main partner in the foundation, and he's a book editor. And then, we start getting calls from people like Nike who want to collaborate on a big storytelling project about Gilbert Baker. So one thing led to another, and now we're a foundation. And so wow. It wasn't like I woke up one day and said, I need to make a foundation. Absolutely not. It was something that needed to be done. It's something I'm very passionate about, trying to achieve our mission, which is to protect and extend Gilbert Baker's legacy. Very simple. That's it. It involves education. It involves outreach. It involves archiving information. I'm currently working on a book on the history of the rainbow flag. Gilbert didn't invent the rainbow flag, as he likes to say. I didn't invent the rainbow. I just put it to work. There's a long, great story there, and people are always coming to me with, I got to tell you my story about the rainbow flag. I got to tell you what it was like back in San Francisco in 1978. So, we have become this collecting agency of information, so that what we are is a resource. People reach out to us to find out about things. They reach out to help us put them in contact with other people that can help them. We're not funded with a big budget. We have a few grants and a few sponsorships that actually were created when Gilbert was still alive. So, but we try to use our symbolic authority to help people and to keep his mission alive, which was to keep the rainbow flag as a beacon of hope. It's very simple. That's what we do.
Brilliant, thank you. So, okay, so tell me a little bit more about Gilbert Baker, warts and all. What was Gilbert Baker like, and how did it all come about designing the pride flag for people who don't know here?
Okay, well, Gilbert grew up in a small town in Kansas. You know, maybe he was the original Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. I don't know. Uh, but as he likes to say in his book, instead of running away from the tornado, he ran right to it. He wanted to get out of Kansas. He didn't want to stay at home. So he actually, believe it or not, he enlisted in the army thinking that would just get him out of there. And probably he would be the first to admit it was a huge mistake because he was an effeminate gay man, you know, as much as he was still closeted and still just trying to figure out his identity at that age in the 60s. So he enlisted in the army. He was treated terribly. He wrote about it in his memoir. It's called Rainbow Warrior. You can find it on Amazon. It was also written about in a Randy Schultz book called Conduct Unbecoming, which is a really famous book about gays in the militaries that a very well-known author, I think chapter 4 is all about Gilbert in that book. So he was on the brink, he thought, of being killed or dying in the military because he was being just verbally and physically assaulted and abused for being effeminate. And but luck smiled on him, and he ended up speaking to an officer. He said, listen, the way to get out of all this trouble is we'll make you a medic. So they sent him to medic school. He became a nurse. And where do you think they posted him? San Francisco, right in the middle of, you know, right a few years after the Summer of Love, the hippies, the women's movement, the, you know, people smoking pot and taking acid and wearing tie-dye shirts. And there he landed, and that changed his life. He already loved fabric and sewing. His grandmother owned a men's clothing store. A lot of people don't know that. So he was already had that, you know, kind of skill. He took more sewing classes at the City University of San Francisco because, as he put it, he wanted to be able to dress like Mick Jagger and David Bowie, and he wanted to make cool clothes that he couldn't afford. So he's sewing like a madman, and he starts, was also sewing himself gowns because Gilbert very quickly started to express himself in women's clothing, and very much a drag queen. You know, and I don't think he was ever particularly trying to pass as a woman, but he loved to put on a gown or a cheerleader's outfit or, you know, all these crazy clothes that he was making himself. Then he started making them for other drag queens. And he also got involved very quickly in politics. And so he's making banners for women's marches. That's how he started out for women's rights and civil rights. But that led him, of course, to the Gay Community Center in San Francisco and the nascent LGBTQ rights movement there. And that's where he met a guy named Harvey Milk, who, you know, a lot of people know through the movie. And he, you know, Harvey Milk, this very famous politician who was martyred, asked Gilbert in discussion with other people that we needed a new symbol. They kept saying, we need a new symbol. And I was talking to my friend Cleve Jones about this recently, and he said it wasn't just Harvey. There was a lot of discussion in San Francisco, in the country, really in the world, at that point about symbols. And up to that point, people were trying to rebrand the pink triangle. And you know about the pink triangle. As Gilbert likes to say, you know, it was a tough thing to rebrand because it was really a symbol of oppression put on us by the Nazis. So at Harvey Milk's prodding, Gilbert really set to thinking about it. And one night after going to the movies with a filmmaker friend, he was passing by United Nations Plaza in San Francisco and saw the big American flags fly. There's 2 100-foot flagpoles, and decided we needed a flag, not just a symbol. It was Gilbert that said that symbol shouldn't just be a lambda, which was an obscure symbol people were using, or a pink triangle. It needed to be a flag. We needed, you know, flags have power, and we need power. So almost immediately he realized it should be a rainbow. You know, the rainbow, it belongs in the sky like a flag. It's in the sky, and he loved the symbolism of its infinite spectrum, because he thought our community was an infinite community. You know, it started out with gays, and then gays and lesbian, then gays, lesbian, transsexuals, and bisexuals, and then queer, and you know, two-spirit, intersex, asex, you know. But he knew even then, before a lot of these acronyms had come along, that we were this expanding universe of brothers and sisters that needed the same thing. We needed a symbol that we could look to and give us hope to come out of the closet. And that's what binds our community together. That's why it's a symbol for the LGBTQ movement, and not really for straight people. We have great straight allies, and we love them all, but you know, they're not born in closets. You know, we are. And that's what he decided, that should be our symbol. He got volunteers together. They were hippies and decided that it should be, he had a good friend, Lynn Segerblom, was a master with fabrics and dyes, and his friend James McNamara had gone to the Fashion Institute Technology, and he sewed as well as Gilbert, and they all got together and they dyed fabric, and they sewed it, and they made two massive 60-foot by 30-foot flags that went up on those two flagpoles I told you about, those 100-foot flagpoles at the corner of on Market Street at the United Nations Plaza. And on June 25th, 1978, they flew those flags, and it's like Gilbert and Cleve and everybody who was there likes to say, boom, it was instant. People knew immediately that this was their new symbol. And the next year he made 400 rainbow banners to go up and down Market Street. He went to work immediately for a company called Paramount Flag Store. I like to talk about this because what people, they learn a lot about Gilbert, and they know he was a crazy drag queen, or Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, and all these kind of, you know, radical politics that he was involved in. But Gilbert went to work in the flag industry, and he worked there for over 10 years at Paramount Flag Company, because he knew that if this symbol was going to get worldwide attention, it had to be adopted by the flag industry. Yeah. So he started designing events for Mayor Dianne Feinstein at City Hall, these receptions for the Premier of China. He would design huge flags and banners. He designed the 1984 Democratic Convention in the National Convention at the Moscone Center. He did big jobs there. And in 1987, he presented a paper to the North American Vexillological Association at the World Flag Congress, where it was the Association Vexillologique and the North American Vexillological Association. All these flag people from around the globe came together, and he presented a paper on the rainbow flag, and they added it to their catalog, which was monumental. So, huge. You know, 10 years, that was a 10-year project for him to do that. He also knew he wanted to do a giant flag in New York, and he did that mile-long flag in 1994. Mm-hmm. If you see pictures of it, some people will know that he took, in 1994 was Stonewall 25, I should mention that. So it was also the Gay Games. So there were people from around the globe. Yeah. And he took pieces of that mile-long flag, and he cut 200-foot pieces, which he wasn't supposed to do. He gave these pieces to contingencies from people from other countries. So 1 year later, you're seeing a piece of the flag in Cuba. You're seeing it in London. You're seeing it in Rio de Janeiro. You see it in Rome. You started to see it around the globe. So what had by 94 become a national symbol, it was adopted in New York, by the way, in 1986. Officially, it was adopted by Interpride in 1985. At that point, it became an international symbol. And I went with him to World Pride. In the defiance, in the face of a lot of blowback from the Catholic Church, we pulled off big events there and an art show. And, like I said, eventually we went to the White House. And, I got to tell you, to be with Gilbert when President Obama lit the White House up in rainbow colors the night that gay marriage passed in the United States was a night I'll never forget. And
that was incredible. Can I ask you a cheeky question at this point?
Yes.
What for the people in the room who maybe don't know this, is there any truth in the idea that the original Pride flag had 2 extra colors?
Yeah, it did. That's actually a pretty well established. You could read about it. the origin story on our website. There were 8 colors originally. I should say that because people around the globe don't know that. Originally, it included pink and turquoise.
Yeah.
The colors all had meanings. And I want to say this is very, very important. Gilbert and his committee, his group of volunteers, these crazy, very diverse group, by the way, of racially diverse, gender diversity. I mean, you know, Gilbert was probably the original genderqueer person. They had big discussions about what are these different colors going to mean, and they decided that these colors should represent elements that are in us all. So there is no L stripe, no G stripe, no B stripe, no T stripe, no Q stripe. Okay. He didn't want to identify with identities because he knew that our identities were as infinite as the spectrum of colors in the rainbow. So they assigned elements. The pink was for sex, the red was for life, the orange for healing, the yellow for sunlight, the green was for nature, the turquoise was for magic and art, and the blue was for serenity, and the purple for spirit. So it included these 2 colors, turquoise and pink. Well, what happened in 1979, a year after they made those 8 color flags, which he loved, when he went to work for the flag company, they said, we don't do pink and turquoise. We have flag companies at that point had a very limited palette of 24 colors that they would use. So he kind of bit his tongue and you know, he didn't stomp and protest because he knew that if he had to reduce it to 6 colors for it to be made in quantity to go around the world, that he knew that that was worth it to keep this symbol alive and keep it growing. So it was originally 8 colors. You know, nowadays you just go on Photoshop and you can design your own flag in 15 to 20 minutes, put it on the internet, it whips around the world, and everybody's talking about the new flag. Well, these are, I don't call them flag, I call them illustrations. They're, you know, they're designs, and they're wonderful when people sort of express themselves like that. But, you know, back then, you know, it was a much tougher world. We didn't have the internet. They didn't have, you know, digital printing and all these kind of things. So to keep the flag growing, he knew that he had to reduce it to 6 colors. Otherwise, it would have been, as we like to say here, one and done. You know, it would have been great for a year and it would have faded as a symbol if he had not made that change.
It's amazing. It's all just kind of beautifully fallen into place almost. And for it to become that kind of symbol. So obviously, I know Gilbert lived through quite a bit of this, obviously, and saw, you know, the White House lit up and things like that. But do you think he ever conceived of it? And even did he ever nip himself and go, you know, I didn't realize it would ever get this far?
Yeah, he did. It was so funny. I mean, I'll just tell personal stories. I mean, when they lit the White House up, you got to remember, they lit up the Eiffel Tower, they've lit up the Niagara Falls, they lit up the Sydney Opera House. I mean, not all on the same night, but all around the same time. They were lighting up monuments around the world, and you know, he was humbled by that, absolutely humbled. As hard as he worked, it's a different thing to wake up one day and say, wow, it really happened. You know, it really, you know, if you ask people in advertising and in the flag world, the rainbow flag is one of the 8 most recognized symbols in the world, along with the American flag, the British Union Jack, the French tricolor, the McDonald's arches, the Nike swoosh. You know, it's in pretty good company there.
That's quite an interesting mix.
And when people see it around the world, they know what it is. You know, they see the rainbow flag. And people have used it for other things. They used it for the peace movement in Italy, the Pace flag. He loved it. He loved that flag, you know. So, you know, he loved that people would want to use the rainbow flag for a peace movement, you know. Yeah. And on the other hand, we would be at, like, let's say, I remember being in a city called Provincetown, which is kind of a gay resort in Massachusetts. and he would see all the little rainbow teacups and the rainbow trinkets and the rainbow keychains and chains, and he would roll his eyes at the commercialization of it. But
Yeah.
that was the flip side of giving it away. I mean, Gilbert never tried to, actually, he had to prevent it from being trademarked. The Pride Foundation that paid for that fabric and those dyes for the original flags, they wanted to trademark it.
Wow.
And he went to a lawyer and got a lawyer to prevent them from doing it.
Yeah.
Because he knew it had to be free for people to use. This is a big deal with us. At the foundation, we don't sell flags, we don't sell t-shirts, we don't merchandise. We have worked with some corporations that, like Nike did a like I said, we did a project with them where but what they did is they did a lot of Gilbert Baker storytelling and telling the story of the original flag when they did their campaign. So we'll help them, but you know, people call me all the time and they write me in the emails through the website and say, oh, we want to make some rainbow beach towels. Can we work with you? And I go, you don't need us. Just make a beach towel. You know, we're not going to endorse it because we're not selling anything. We really, it's important that it's free. Now, the flip side of that is that, you know, Donald Trump tried to wave a rainbow flag in 2016, you know.
I remember.
I mean, it was just so like horrifying that he of all people would, you know, and then there's bar owners that are, you know, pretty racist and bigoted bar owners gay bar owners in the United States and around the world that will put a rainbow flag on their bar to say this is a gay bar, but then they don't want Black patrons, you know. Yeah. So it just comes with the territory that, you know, flags essentially cannot be trademarked in the United States. And so, you know, corporations can use them. We, by the way, we have recently called out the Anheuser-Busch company. They make Budweiser beer. We went to a protest. Our friends Stacy Lentz and Kirk Kelly, who own the Stonewall Inn in New York, we did a pour out where we poured their beer into the gutter and threw all the bottles down because, you know, they're putting rainbows on their beer bottles, but they're donating money to politicians who are trying to pass anti-trans laws. So we call out people when they are abusing this symbol, but we cannot, you know, legally stop them. So, you know, that's just, you know, it's an adult world. You know what I mean? You can control everybody.
I was going to say that's quite, because there's quite the tension, isn't there?
There is, and that's just the flip side to making it free. If it wasn't free, people couldn't use it. You know, on the other hand, if it wasn't free, we could stop a lot of people from using it. But we don't think anybody should be the arbiter of who can use it. You know what I mean? We can call out people when they use it wrong. But, you know, it's a wonderful symbol. People know what it means. They know when somebody's misusing it. You know what I mean? You know, nobody's fooled. Nobody was fooled by Donald Trump.
No.
You know, so yeah, it is a widely corporatized symbol. And I know many other flag designers, and we all laugh because, you know, some of these newer flags that come out and people think they're so radical, and 2 years later you can buy them in a Target store, or, you know, or Walmart. So, you know, you could buy them in a supermarket. You know what I mean? So these things have I like to say flags have a life of their own. They're mysterious. They have power. They have the power that people put into them. People feel like they own the rainbow flag. Millions of people think it's theirs, maybe even 1 billion. I don't know, but hundreds of millions of people think that's their flag, and they're going to tell you about it, and they're going to tell you what it means. So there's a lot of difference of opinion, I guess is what I'm saying. Not ours to control. We can, you know, just try to help people and be a resource.
But I would like to come back to that, because I think the fact that it has been free, it's never been trademarked, it's never been, as you say, copyrighted. I think what's important about this is a report out we see around the world from people in different nation states with their flags and using the original flag or variations of that were made from Gilbert Baker, and they've become an important symbol of human rights around the globe. And
Yeah.
it's very often the first thing that people do is they gather together and they want to show that. And I think that's so important. So do you have any words on that? How do you think the flag's become this big global symbol for human rights?
Well, I mean, how it's become is, like I said, honestly, the number one reason, because Gilbert Baker made it that way. I mean, when
Mm,
you really work for 39 years on something tirelessly and pull off things like the mile long flag and get that symbol sent around the world, I mean, that's why it's known. But, you know, then one person tells another person, and then they light up the White House. And then, you know, like I said, suddenly everybody in the globe knows. But the internet has a lot to do with it. I think, you know, when gay marriage passed here in the United States, Facebook had a little rainbow filter, and everybody get to add a rainbow filter to their profile picture. So it's, you know, it is really warms my heart when I hear these stories of people. I don't worry too much about the United States, maybe England. You know, we're first world countries. We have first world problems. But when I see, you know, this article you sent me about those people in the Kakuma refugee camp, you know, bravely flying a rainbow flag and getting arrested, you know, people in Russia getting arrested and beaten for having a rainbow flag. I mean, this young man in Iraq who was, you know, that his family kidnapped him and beheaded him because of, you know, he dared to commit the crime of coming out of the closet. And his friends are taking rainbow flags and they're running around the streets of Tehran. They duck in and out of buildings so they don't want to get arrested, but they're daring to take that symbol out and make it visible. So that's why people know what it is. It's not, you know, it's part of it's what Gilbert did, but that baton was handed off a long time ago. It's now the people in these countries you're working in, that are making the rainbow flag a symbol of freedom. You know, it's being done at the grassroots at this point, and that's something, you know, we're just proud of and very thrilled that we have even any part in that.
Brilliant. Just a reminder to anybody who's watching, if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. And okay then, so what would Gilbert, you've talked a little bit about, you know, some of the accessories, teacups, keychains and all the rest of it, but since the pride flag was developed originally, and I speak here as a bisexual man with my own little bi flag, what would he have thought about the different reiterations of the flag? Because, you know, there's a bear flag, there's a lipstick lesbian flag, a bisexual, etc. What would Gilbert have thought about that?
Well, I think he had two minds. First of all, like Gilbert, we're flag people. We love flags.
Fun with flags.
Exactly. The official stance and opinion of the foundation is that there's room in the sky for all these flags, and you should fly the flag that speaks to your soul. On the other hand, I think Gilbert did worry. I know he did. We talked about it, about you know, he wasn't concerned the leather community had a flag. That was in 1986. 1986, Michael Page created the bi flag in 1988. Monica Helms created the trans flag in 1999. So a lot of these flags have been around a very long time. You know, he had met Monica. I don't know if he ever met Michael. But, you know, we work with all these people. You know, we consider ourselves a bit of a fraternity of flag creators. But I will say this, that I think it's good if trans people, let's say, feel like as a community, they can have their own flag to look up to. But like Monica Helms and the trans, who created the trans flag, Monica's on our board of directors, by the way. As Monica would say, she considers her flag to be like a state flag, but
Right.
Gilbert's flag is like the national flag. You know, you can love your state, but really you rally around that big national flag. So I think Gilbert was concerned, and we are as well, that it's okay to have a flag that represents, let's say, a portion of our community, but it is more important, and I will really stand and say this loud and proud, that it is more important that we know we have to unify our movement as well. And if that means unifying it under the rainbow flag, I think that is paramount importance. I can't think of anything more important than our community remaining united, because the truth is our community has always been broken up into subgroups. It always has been the same way that, you know, England is broken up into regions, and the United States is broken up into states, and you know, France is broken up into principal, I don't know, I can't remember, keep it all to regions. Anyway, Italy is broken into states. You know, you got your favorite soccer team, you have a favorite flag for your soccer team. But when it comes down to it, you need to rally, you know, under your national flag.
Yeah.
And for us, it's our international flag. So I celebrate all these flags. Gilbert celebrated them, but we should never forget that we are stronger when we are united. And that as much as we want to celebrate our individual identities or our individual group identities, that the LGBTQIA+++ community has never gotten anything done unless we all work together.
Yeah.
So for that reason, you know, we sort of have two opinions, I guess you say, about that. You know, fly the flag that speaks to your soul, but you know, always, you know, keep yourself aware that we're part of a larger community. The community, as I said, of people that need, you know, to come out of the closet. People ask me, who's the flag for? And they start talking about L's and G's and B's and T's and Q's. And I go, no, it's one group. It's you know, repressed sexual gender minorities. That's who we are. And we need to keep that in mind, and we need to stay united.
Brilliant. So a bit more controversial one next, I guess. So because the original Pride flag obviously has this whole historical legacy as well as part of our own queer history. But can the original Pride flag live alongside more, dare I say, newer Pride flags, like the inclusive flag, which has come out recently and been updated to add on the black and the brown stripes?
Absolutely. You know, I love Amber Hikes, who created it's actually called the More Colors flag.
Yeah.
Other people have tried to rebrand Amber's flag.
Right.
You know, people try to rebrand the rainbow flag. We're Gilbert Baker, so I understand that. Amber created her flag to really stress the importance of the intersectionality of race, gender, and sexuality. That you know, frankly, it was because in Philadelphia, the LGBTQ authorities were not paying enough attention to people of color. So she created that flag. It is a purpose-driven flag. It has a purpose, and it's a really great flag. I wore Amber's flag to Gilbert's memorial in front of Stonewall after he passed away. I wore that flag because I think it was important that we as a community understand that some of us are more privileged as others. And if we are, we need to reach back and help those who are less privileged. And if that's people of color or trans people or bisexual people, we need to do that. You know, the strong have to fight for the people that don't have a voice. And that's what her flag was demanding. The Progress flag has come out. That's with the chevron of the black and the brown stripe, with the colors of the trans flag. And that is also a very powerful symbol. Dan Quasar, who created it, is a friend of mine. By the way, Monica, who created the trans flag, Amber, Dan, myself, Neff Dugan created the asexual flag. We all did an art exhibit at the Stonewall Inn and at the Harvey Milk Camera Shop in San Francisco, and on our website, that celebrates, it was called In Their Own Voices. You can go to gilbertbaker.com, In Their Own Voices, and see that, you know, we celebrate all these flags. But, you know, Dan said he created the Progress flag to force a conversation about transphobia and racism within the LGBTQ community as well as outside of it. So like Amber's flag, it is a purpose-driven flag. Do I think any of these flags can replace the rainbow flag? I don't. I really don't, because their purpose is to point out and to put more emphasis on certain groups within the larger group, you know, to emphasize people of color. to emphasize trans people. But as soon as you do that, you're going to get, my very good friend, I won't use her name because sometimes she gets, hateful emails, but I have a good friend in the bisexual community. She sees the progress flag and she feels left out. She feels like, oh, they left out the bisexual community. So what do? Somebody goes on Photoshop and here's a progress flag and they put some bisexual colors on it, so now you have a color with 12 stripes, a flag. And, and I guess what I'm saying is these flags rely on identity. They literally, if you look at the stripes, some people like to say that the black and brown stripe are about inclusion and diversity. That's not what Amber said. She wanted it was really about race. It's about inclusion and it is about diversity, but it was definitely about racism. So as soon as you start having flags that are created for certain identities or are perceived to emphasize certain identities, that kind of limits their, I think, appeal. And, the rainbow flag, because it was created to represent elements of humanity that are in all of us, like I said, sex, love, sunlight, nature, these are elements in all of us. So I love these other flags. We've celebrated them. We did an Emojis of Pride campaign. We created an exhibit where all of us flag creators got together. And you can actually go to our Facebook page and you can see the live stream. It's had over 2,000 views when we opened that exhibit. It's been one of the most successful things we've done. But I can't say one will or will not ever replace the rainbow flag, but they can fly next to it. I think there's room in the sky for all of them. But there will always be, they'll always be interpreted as being selective. And I think the rainbow flag just is more unifying. I'll just say it straight out, that if somebody is going to create a new flag that is going to unify our community, all of us, as well as the rainbow flag, I've not seen it yet. They're great flags. That's all I can say. We as a organization, like I say, we really stress the need for unity, especially in these times when there seems to be a lot of division within our community, and we think we need to work together. If our power is divided, we're not going to do well as a community.
I very much agree. And so I've been sent a question from somebody in the audience, and the question is how do you feel when the pride flag gets misused? So, for example, in the UK during COVID and lockdown, we had the NHS use the rainbow colours. There's been examples in the past of we have a far right group called the English Defence League, which used to be quite big here, and they would have a small minority of people who would fly the pride flag at their right-wing events in order to exclaim that they were inclusive of queer people. What's your thoughts on that when it gets absolutely misused from its original meaning?
Well, I will say this, and I know I'm going to get into trouble with somebody.
Don't worry, it's either you or me.
All right, I'm diving right in. I'll tell you, Drew, I don't believe in litmus tests for being gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, whatever. I just don't. I think we do spend a lot of our, I shouldn't say a lot of it. We spend some time calling out like corporate misuse. We don't post a lot of stories on our website about, we thought about posting the story about the British health system using this rainbow flag. Sometimes we try to see, is this, how big is this story? Is it really, threatening our brand, let's say? Is it threatening our community? But on the other hand, we saw a lot of other press call them out already. We tend to try to stay on the hopeful side of things. And you know, like I said, when we think something needs to be called out, we do. But we do speak up, absolutely. And I have to say this, and this is where I'm going to get in trouble. True. There are conservative gay people out there, okay?
Yeah, of course.
There are racist gay people.
Mm.
Racism comes in many, many degrees.
Mm.
There are racist people that out there that they can't imagine that they're racist. They don't think they are,
Mm.
you know, but they definitely have white privilege. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, we come in, what might be shocking to all of you people out there is, guess what? We're just like the straight community, except we're not straight, okay?
Mm.
There are Republican gays, there are conservative gays. I have deeply troubled when really right-wing groups try to co-opt the rainbow flag, and we will call that out because it threatens us, our community, or when you try to divide our community, and, you know, let's say they want to pick off trans people, you know what I mean? Let's say, you know, the gay white man, or, you know, oh, that's great, and then they don't want to include trans people, because that's been a problem in the past. So we definitely don't like that. On the other hand, we don't believe that there's sort of some sort of woke litmus test for who can use the flag or not. Absolutely not. Yeah. I've got Republican friends still, a few anyway. It's hard to turn around. But, you know, Harvey Milk, when he ran for his first elections in California, those historic elections through the 70s, he knew that we had to reach out to people that may not agree with us politically on all our issues.
Yeah.
He worked with Teamsters unions, and he worked with Republicans, because, you know what, guess what? We're like maybe 5% of the world population. We need allies. And if we think we're going to win by only having liberal or socialist allies, I'm afraid you're going to be really disappointed, because that's not enough. We need people who are politically moderate. We need capitalists. We need conservatives. We need the support of all these people, because they're gay too. They're lesbians too. And they're bisexuals too. And they're transgenders too. And I don't believe in general politically correct litmus tests for whether or not you should fly the pride flag. On the other hand, anything that just threatens us, you know, if the National Front in France started flying a pride flag, I'd write them a letter and tell them to cease and desist. You know what I mean? Because they're essentially neo-Nazis. You know, they want to slap pink triangles on us and stick us back in the camps.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You know, we're definitely going to call people out. On the other hand, some people can get a little holier than thou with their political correctness, and I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, it's about balance. I think we do need to find our allies, and sometimes in unusual places, and
right.
and there's something to be said for that. I agree. So, okay then, so we've only got 9 minutes left, Charlie. This has flown by. And thank you, Leslie C, for the nice comment, by the way, saying happy Pride from Edinburgh. Thank you for another great event. As a regular attendee, as Leslie C, I see at every event. It's lovely to see you. So we've got, we are working on a new project, aren't we, Charlie, between Report Out and the Gilbert Baker Foundation. Because I'm the Ellen here, so I'm going to hand over to you to talk a little bit about it, and I'll join in as well, and I'll put a post in the chat for people to read more.
Yeah, guys, what we're going to do is we have this great, it's called Flag in the Map.
Yeah.
And I like that phrase. It's catchy, and we're asking people to do around the globe is to send us pictures of how you use your pride flag, whether it is a protest or in celebration. Are you hanging it in your living room? Are you waving it on the front of your house? And send it in, you know, with your story. You go to either Report Out or gilbertbaker.com and flag in the map. You'll see that right near the top of our homepage. You know, you can send us these pictures, and we're going to collect these photos, and they'll be, you know, edited somewhat. And then we're going to create an online gallery and hopefully a physical gallery show next June in New York and London, and a book that we can use to show how people have done this. And I think we already had a submission. Mick Hicks is an old friend of Gilbert Baker's. He's a photographer, and he carried one of those pieces of the mile-long flag to Cuba in 1995.
Wow.
And he sent a recent picture of them still carrying that pride flag in Cuba, where, oh my Lord, I could tell you stories. Fidel Castro's daughter, Mariela Castro, is straight, but she's an amazing advocate for our community.
Yeah.
And she is fighting with her uncles and the government to help represent us, but they still try to shut down these pride parades. So they are bravely bringing out that big section of flag, whether it's at a beach or some public place, and they've sent a beautiful, beautiful photo. So we already have submissions, and I encourage you people here to go to our websites and put a flag in the map for us, okay?
Yeah, and please do. We only ask a couple of questions. So we only ask, you know, what does the flag, where are you from? You don't have to give your name. It can be entirely anonymous. So you just follow the link, share it with your friends, text it to everyone you know. And we just ask, where are you from? What does the pride flag mean to you? And why did you take this picture? And they're going to form an amazing book and exhibition, as Charlie was saying, which is just really exciting. And we're working together on this. We want thousands of people applying. We really do. Whether it's you in your bedroom holding a pride flag up, if it's in secret, if it's a homemade version of the pride flag because you can't buy one. Yeah. If you want to be absolutely artistic and go crazy with a group of friends and lie on the floor in different color t-shirts and make a pride flag out of humans, go for it. It depends how you want to do it. So please do absolutely apply and get these submissions coming in, because we're launching it very, very soon. It's already started to go out there, and you could potentially be put into a book, which will be all of the photographs of everyone around the world showing their pride flags. Great.
Yeah, and like I said, it could be anything. You know, in Cuba, they've got a big flag, but one of my favorite pictures is this 9-year-old girl in New York. She makes little rainbow watercolors for her school, and I've asked her to send in a photo because I think it's darling.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So you know, it doesn't need to be a big production. It just has to come from the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but do follow the links. There will be more information coming out about that in both our newsletters, no doubt. We've got this ongoing because the closing date is the 31st of December, 21. So you've got plenty of time to submit. And then after that, the book will be put together and we will be then launching it through exhibitions, as we say, in New York and in London as well. And there'll be chances, we hope, to get tickets for you to come to see it as well, maybe. So there's lots of exciting things. It's brilliant. So, okay, we don't have any more audience questions at the moment, but I actually think, Charlie, to be honest, you and I could talk for at least another 3 hours quite easily about this.
But, you know, Drew, once you get me started.
Well, I'm the same. I'm always the same. So anyway, I have a few things to say, if I may. I first of all want to say huge thanks, and if everyone could give a big round of applause for Charlie, that would be great. So massive well done, Charlie. Thank you very much for coming along, for doing this. It's superb. It's really nice to get you know, that to people to come along and tell the story, because I think very often the story of the pride flag has been distorted by other people who tell it, and it's nice to hear it from the original source. It really is. I also want to say a thank you, if she will turn on her camera, to Amalia, our volunteer, who has been doing all of our wonderful background work. Amalia, all the way from lovely Greece. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all of our events team who provide these events, and to hook up with people and ask them if they'll, you know, take part and talk about what, you know, issues in their nation state. And can I just remind you to please sign up to our newsletter, give a donation if you can. And afterwards, if you've signed up to this email, to this event using your email address, you will get a feedback form sent to you. Can you please fill it in? That really helps us. We need to know what you want to see. We can put on events all year long, but it might not be what you want. If you've got a particular country in mind you want to hear about, or region that you'd like to know more about, then tell us. I think we're pretty varied, to be honest, but if we can get people to come in and talk, we will. So thank you, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you have a lovely evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you are. And once again, thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
Thanks. All the
Thank
best,
you.
everybody.